Right? Today we're going to have a fun topic. It's an agent topic, and we're going to talk about what?
Ghosting buyers.
Ghosting buyers. So when buyers ghost you, right? Good job. That was awesome. We have all the time, we have agents asking questions about certain things going on, different situations in the field, different problems, different pluses, different minuses, different opportunities. One of them that's coming up pretty frequently is like when buyers are ghosting, right? So like we have like when a buyer is ghosting, doesn't return text messages, doesn't return, any kind of like DMs or like calls or voicemails or like, I don't know how else you call it.
Or asks for
or paper mail.
information on a, no paper mail.
There's no paper mail? You don't paper mail your buyers?
Is that a thing?
Maybe I've been in real estate
Maybe
too
that's
long.
your problem.
They don't mail me letters back. So,
I tried to mail a love letter. It didn't work.
it didn't come back. No return. So today we're talking about ghosting buyers.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic because I think that the truth in the matter is that you want to stay front of mind all the time, right? You want to be able to be the first person that they think of when they think real estate.
Sure.
But sometimes you have a conversation with your friend and your friend says, "Oh my gosh, come look at my new house. We just bought it, a month ago." And you're like, "Heck, I literally
Yeah.
I'm in real estate. Why didn't you use me?"
Look at the pictures of what? What?
Yeah, and I think that is a very real conversation. Yeah. And I think the other piece of it is that some
Do you unfriend them? Come on, Leah. Let's be honest.
I do not unfriend
It's not like it's being recorded.
I do not
unfriend them on Facebook.
No,
I'm not following you on Instagram.
No, because the truth is when they go to sell that house, I could be front of mind then, right?
Right.
So
they have another shot.
They have another shot.
Yes.
They have a couple shots actually.
Yes.
I could help them buy a new house too.
That's right.
I think the realism of being ghosted by a buyer is that you see that you are annoying to somebody by posting about real estate or talking about real estate or being entrenched in the conversation, so you feel like you're being annoying.
Sometimes you're just annoying.
That's you, not me.
Well, no, you too. You can be annoying.
No.
Yeah, you just don't know it. Right? You need a friend that tells you are annoying. So,
all of my friends think I'm awesome.
Yeah, they lie to you. Anyways, so everybody has the potential to be annoying. Don't take it personally. So let's get into. I want to get into like functional questions, not just philosophy.
Sure.
Right. So in 2025, buyers have access to more information than they have ever had before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I think this plays a role in like when does the buyer talk to the agent? Sometimes like let's say a buyer's way up funnel. They're 10 months from really buying a house, but they're getting all this information off of Zillow or off Realtor.com or whatever. They're gathering all this content, all this information, and they're on a little bit of information overload, and they reach out to an agent, right? Is there a chance that they ghost when, right, like they're top of funnel, they're not really ready to get pre-qualified, they're not ready to go look at houses, they have questions about houses because they have this information overload. So like, is education or information overload playing a role in the relationship between the agent and the buyer?
Sure. I think there's also follow-up that goes into that, right? So they go in with the intention of getting all the information that they need right then, right? We are in very much of a society of instant gratification.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about buying a house. It's probably going to be towards Christmas time, but I need all the information right now.
Mm-hmm.
So they get all the information right now, and you become part of that, right? Like I'm part of that information gathering phase.
Your chat.
But if I'm not continuing or following up with the conversation that I've had with that buyer, I'm losing the front of mind with that buyer. So what happens is I'm the information person at the beginning stage, but then you go to the time that they're actually ready to buy, and they just pull up Zillow or Redfin or Realtor, and they go to the bottom of the screen of the house that they think they like, and they click on that agent, and that's who shows them the house, right? Because I'm no longer front of mind. So a lot of the ghosting happens because we're giving them so much information up front, and then our follow-up or follow-through is not the type of follow-through that they need.
Okay, so I'm going to flip on you.
Okay.
Is it more about follow-through or is it more about education? Because you just said they get information, not education. They get information up front. So I can get information from many different sources, digital sources, but I don't get education.
Sure.
So what is the responsibility of the agent to educate the consumer? So think about this. Take this into context. Someone gets all this information on whatever site or portal they're looking on. They get information about houses, about community. They're thinking about moving a couple of states away, right? They're moving from Wisconsin, they're going to move down to Georgia, right? So they're getting information about Georgia. They have a question for the agent, right? So what kind of education should the agent give them? Because there is an education of the role the agent plays in their house hunting journey, right?
I mean, I think it's
Because
about,
if you don't tee that up right,
you lose.
you could lose. Because
Right.
it's not up to the consumer to know, hey, if I click that button on Zillow, I don't understand. I think they just show the house.
Right. You have to again, we talk about this a lot, but it's about articulating your value and who you are in the transaction and how you represent them and what your key role is in representation.
Right.
Right. So I take that away by saying, hey, I know you're not ready yet, Mr. or Mrs. Consumer, but what I can tell you is that I can set you up on a drip, and that drip will then show you, hey, these are the houses that are funneling in the search parameters that you're looking at. You might not be ready, totally fine. However, when you're ready and you start liking some of the listings that I'm sending you, I can see that. So it'll trigger me to say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Consumer, do you want to go see a house? Let's go see a house. Then I schedule it for you. So instead of you worrying about the burden of trying to schedule your own showings, let me do that for you, right? It's an education piece of this is the role that I play in this funnel, and let me be that role for you.
So what are the mistakes that agents make? Right? If you're talking to someone top of funnel, they're not ready just yet.
Yeah.
You're gonna what are the mistakes they make in those conversations?
Answering the questions at hand only.
Okay.
Right? So like only answering the questions at hand. And then being like, hey, when you're ready, just give me a call. I'm here for you, just give me a call. Instead of taking action and actually setting up a follow-up plan or setting up a way to continue to engage them, they say, hey, when you're ready, you tell us.
You tell me when you're ready.
But you're not going to tell me when you're ready. That's the whole point. It's too quick for you to be able to get onto Zillow and just schedule your showing and meet with another agent.
Okay,
It's
but
too
I'm
easy.
gonna take it even farther because I want to take it out of the context, like, and there's no offense, right? You're being annoying, but so it's just
okay.
it's the agent mentality, it's the agent thought process. So I'll take you out of the agent thought process for a minute.
All right.
I want to put you in the consumer thought process.
Okay.
If you tell me to follow up when I'm ready, I don't even know what when I'm ready means, and I don't even know what for.
You're right.
Like I don't even know what that means. Like I don't even know what you do. I don't know.
Exactly my
Does
point.
that make sense?
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that is the mistake that an agent makes, is by saying, hey, you follow up with me when you're ready.
Mhm.
That's a mistake. It's a problem because you're not giving them direction. So you're not saying, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Consumer, these are the action steps I'm going to take next to make sure when you're ready to purchase, we're ready to go. Right? And you have to give them an outline of this is the education standpoint of where we need to be in order to buy that house. And if this is your goal, this is when we need to start shopping, and this is when we need to be under college. There's a method to working them through that funnel, and ultimately saying just what you just said. I don't know when I'm going to be ready. What does that even mean?
What does ready mean?
And
like what is ready?
That is the problem. Is that a lot of agents say you just follow up with me when you're ready. You let me know when you're ready.
Okay, so just answering the questions at hand.
Yep.
That's one.
Yep.
2 is you follow up when you're ready.
Yep.
What are some other mistakes?
I think over informing the client or over educating the client and overwhelming them is also a mistake sometimes. Because when you give too much information, it becomes information
I make
overload.
this complicated.
That's right.
So if they don't give enough information, but if they give too much information.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's truth.
So articulate. So when they give too much information, what's it look like?
Too much information is like, okay, well, when we get to this point, we'll write an offer, and the offer is going to look like this, and this is what due diligence means, and this is like you're giving too much information. You're telling them how you're going to do something. Instead, you back up the conversation with, hey, when you're ready, my job is to make sure that the offer that we're making for you puts your best foot forward in the transaction. It's easy to shift the conversation from this is how you make an offer and these are the contingencies, and like you can have that conversation, but there's a time and a place for that conversation, and when the buyer is not ready for it, it becomes a roadblock or a wall that they put up. Instantly you gave them so much information that they're like,
Well, you also, as a first-time home buyer, you could scare them.
oh, terrified. Sure.
I mean, they're already
Sure.
concerned, right? So.
Sure. For agents, it's important to walk through the process of, okay, Mr. or Mrs. Consumer, this is how I would like to follow up with you. But I understand that you're busy, and I understand that you have life, and I understand your time frame is X. So let's talk about how we follow up with each other so that when you're ready, I'm ready to go too. right? And I think it's very real for you to have the conversation of, okay, I understand you're not ready yet, but there are things that we need to do to put in place, and this is how I'm going to follow up with you. And then have the conversation of, is this okay? Are you okay with this type of follow-up? And having that open dialogue and staying front of mind makes sense. I mean, there are agents who create newsletters, and they say, hey, can I add you to my newsletter so that you can see what's happening in the real estate industry?
Yeah.
That's brilliant. It keeps them front of mind. You know, hey,
But it's a soft touch.
it's a soft touch, right? And then the other piece of it is, hey, do you mind, you know, let's add each other on
Listing
social
alert.
media, let's get listing alerts, let's set you up on a trip. There are ways to go into a conversation with a consumer and be front of mind without annoying
Without
them.
overload.
Yeah, that's right.
A little bit.
Okay, let's talk about the difference between being an agent and educating versus making somebody feel like you're trying to sell them on something.
Mhm.
Because I think that is also a turnoff.
I don't think, I think that you have to be really careful that you're even in sales.
Correct. 100%.
Like, you can go out and you can say all day long that I sold them this house, but you really didn't. You professionally represented them in the contract.
That's so true. Yeah.
So, like, I mean, that's where I, like, kind of draw the line is, like, you have to navigate them in how they can properly navigate getting this house to a successful closing by, handling all the issues that could arise,
Yeah.
right? So, like, your job is to be that professional eyes and ears that literally can go into that transaction and say, I know what forms to use, I know what inspections we need to do, I know the reviews we need to do, I know a lot about this area, I know the things that we need to evaluate before we actually buy this house,
Yeah.
right? So that you can end up in a house that you are proud of, you're excited about, and it is what you thought it was,
Right.
Because I'm the professional that comes alongside you,
Right.
to help you navigate this,
Right.
So, like, I always lead with the opposite. I don't lead with, hey, I know all the inventory out there, because I think that's a lost leader.
But you don't.
Because you don't. Because there's so many different sites out there, and the problem is, if you tee up, like, I know about every property in the market, like, the problem is, like, when they pull one up, they're like, hey, did you know about 123 Anniversary Street? And you're like, no. It's like, well, you don't know about every property. So, like, was that what I was using you for?
Mhm.
Because you don't
Mhm.
know that, right?
Mhm.
So the way that I lead into it is more of what my role is in the contract is to legally advise you and help you navigate the paperwork and the nuances of buying a property. This is a large transaction,
Yeah.
and I am your advisor that is going to come in, right, and contractually and fiduciarily be bound to helping you through a successful closing. Like,
Maybe,
that is,
maybe we don't say
I represent-
fiduciary or contractually. Those are big words that,
it is.
sometimes-
It's a fiduciary responsibility. It is.
Uh,
Working hard.
It
Code of
sure
ethics.
it
It
is. Yeah.
But think about this. It's like when you go in to talk with an attorney. That's what the attorney says. It's my job is to successfully navigate you through this legal problem because I have good understanding. I have understanding of this. The forms and the documents and the process and the situation. Like, and when you lean into that piece of it,
Yeah.
then they understand. It's like, well, if you're going to go look at a property, like, it's not that I have to show you the property, but
Right.
if I'm going to be your representation,
Right.
you really want me there to check out that
Right.
property because I can address things and see things you may not see right off it.
I mean, let's be real. The whole reason that somebody hires us is to represent them, is to be that person for them.
Yeah.
And so that is super important. And I think the other piece of it is that there's a pressure standpoint that some people think of, oh, this agent's going to walk me through here and they're going to try to pressure me into buying this house. And the truth should always be, the conversation should always be, listen, what are the things that are important to you in a new house? Okay, great. Let's find it and don't settle because this is the largest financial investment you're going to make.
Mhm.
And we need to make sure that you're not settling on that.
Well, I mean, yeah, 100%. The one thing I'll add to it is a great agent, when they walk through a property with an individual, they help them address their concerns.
Sure.
So when someone walks in a property, like, man, I love this house. I love the neighborhood. It's in the school system I want to be in. But there's too many trees in the backyard, or the deck is wobbly. Like, that's where you come and say, hey guys, we can write in the contract in special stipulations that we're gonna have this deck rebuilt, or we're gonna have the 80% of the trees cut down with HOA approval and
Everything's
a $5,000 budget, and have all the stumps cut up. Like, that's how we help them navigate
right.
those things.
That's right.
They're like, hey, I love this layout, but I don't like this wall here. Like, well, can we have it checked out and see if it could be removed and what the cost would be to have it removed? Right. That's solving the problems for this consumer. This is what a professional does.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. I mean, and I think if we take that back to ghosting, I think that becomes, again, where you articulate value, right? This is what I'm going to do. This is who I am. This is what I'm going to do for you. And then I know you're not ready yet, but let's put an action plan into place so that when you are ready, we are ready together.
Well, and always remember this too: is typical buyers, whatever they say their window of time is, 9 times out of 10 is half of that.
Correct.
So when they say it's going to be a year, it's usually 6 months. When they say 6 months, it usually ends up being 3. So you have to keep that. You have to keep that in back, on top of your mind. Like, hey, usually, I need to make sure my follow-up schedule addresses the fact that more than likely it'll probably be half of that window of time.
And actually, typically, if they start looking, the second they find a property that they're interested
it's
in,
an
that's
emotional.
usually when it is. It's always an emotional driver.
Right.
When they start looking and get it into their head that they're moving, in their mind they've already moved. And so therefore they're starting to look. So you need to be ready for that.
If you're dealing with married couples, which probably 90% are married couples, so you have an analytical and you have an emotional. The analytical says 6 months because I got to make sure that I have this bonus and I have this intact and blah, blah, blah. We have this money saved up. And the emotional is like, Timmy's got to be in the school system. He's got to be on that soccer team. Like, I don't even care. We'll get a divorce. He'll live in the backyard. Right, like that. So the emotional drives, right, is the driver. It says, hey, we're getting this done now.
That's
Land the plane.
That's right. That's right.
Or
That's
move
right.
out. Right?
That's right.
We've all been in those situations.
Oh, yeah.
They're just laughing, but it's very true.
It's true.
It's very true.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many
Well, I'm
times.
leaving you.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've been at listing appointments or working with buyers. It's like, hey, this is what it financially looked like, and the analytical's like, no, and the other one's like, excuse me, like,
watch this.
maybe. I mean, maybe. Like, yeah.
I think it's also important when you're dealing with, buyers and sellers, like make sure that you have the decision maker, which typically is your emotional one, even though the analytical it's typically your emotional
Analytical
one.
makes a spreadsheet.
Yeah,
the
but that's your
emotional blows it
driver.
up.
Your driver is who you want in a conversation
Oh, yeah.
too. You should always be talking to the parties together
100%.
if you can. And that's why when I'm getting in touch with a new prospect, I'm like, hey, when's a good time for us to meet together? Because
Mhm.
you want to make sure that you have all key parties in that conversation. You're less likely to be ghosted, quote unquote, not followed up with, if you have the key parties in that conversation. I think a lot of agents make the mistake of just having a phone call too. And I think we are going back to buyer consultations, and it's a missed thing in this industry. That is important.
I think that is a key fundamental. I think that with everything going on with the changes in the industry about buyer compensation and all those things, I think that buyer position is going to become more professional.
Sure.
I think that what you just said should be a word of advice that every agent, whether they're experienced or new to the business or whatever it may be, working with buyers or not, that's something they should take, and that is sitting down and having the conversation with all parties in the transaction. Like, that's what we have to get back to. Like, that's how listing appointments work.
Yeah.
It's like you shouldn't be going to a listing appointment where you're just meeting with one party just
Nope.
because you can get an appointment.
Nope.
You should say no, we need to get everybody together
Yeah.
because we have to have all parties sitting at that table that are going to be
Yeah.
decision makers, and you need to do the exact same thing with buyers. Like,
Well-
that's exactly what we need to do with buyers.
Yeah,
Right.
and the truth of a buyer is they're a lot less likely to ghost you or walk away from the conversation if they see your face.
Mhm.
So if you meet face to face, you're a lot less likely, to be ghosted than you are if you just pick up the phone and have a conversation. It's a lot easier for me not to call you back than it is for me to see your face, have a conversation with you, gain the warm and fuzzies, and then walk away and not call you again. That's a lot harder.
Face to face is critical.
Mhm.
It's so important.
Mhm.
It really is. It really is. And, this is a relationship driven business, but it is still toe to toe, belly to belly, nose to nose. Like, that is how this business happens. And you hear about agents doing a bunch of contracts that are done over the internet or this or that, or somebody did a amazing TikTok and got a bunch of followers, now bought houses from them, and most of that is just not a reality. It's not a reality of this business. Like, the reality of this business is very toe to toe, belly to belly, nose to nose.
Yeah.
And you got to make sure you have the right parties at the meetings,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So you can land the deal.
And that goes hand in hand with what we've talked about previous, is like things at the closing table start. So like, your TikTok followers are great and they may buy a house from you, or they may buy a house from you over the internet, but what kind of relationship did you build with them?
Yeah.
The relationship piece of this industry is critical and crucial to how you grow fundamentally in the industry.
How do you differentiate between someone who actually wants to buy a house and someone who might just be bluffing in your face?
Define bluffing,
Like,
because there's always a transaction to be had. It's just a matter of time.
absolutely.
I think you look at every single person as an opportunity, right? And if I could give you advice as an agent, is no matter when they're ready, whether it's 2 years from now or 6 months from now, every person sitting in front of you is an opportunity. And you either choose to seize the opportunity or you choose not to, and somebody else will.
I think you got to be really, really careful too. when you're working with clients, is, to your point, every client is an opportunity to help them. And you got to look at them as humans. Like we've worked in this lead business for the past 10, 15 years of leads coming in. They're not leads, they're clients. There's people on the other end of that. And the thing you have to look at, to your question, is you really have to look at is like, I may not do a deal with them, but they may refer me to somebody else.
100%.
Right? There's lots of times you end up placing someone in a rental. And you're like, man, I ended up putting them in a rental, but you did a great job with them, and their family members end up buying houses with you.
Also, a
because
year
you took
later,
care
they
of
end
them.
up buying too.
Exactly. So you got to look at this business as a long game.
Yeah.
And those that look at it as a short game,
They don't last.
they don't last.
Well, that was to my point, the conversation around, people getting into this industry for instant gratification.
Mhm.
And this is not an instant gratification industry.
No,
This is a
it's a long game.
long-term, long game industry.
It's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
That's right.
Very much so.
That's right.
So I'll say, fundamentally, at the end of the day, there's lots of stuff changing in this industry, just like we talked about in a couple of our other podcasts. But the reality is there's things changing, and I think change opens up opportunity. And the way we got to look at this is there's going to be a lot of sites that open up, and there's going to be a lot of AI that will start empowering consumers to get lots of information, lots of data, lots of stuff. And here's the reality. I think that it opens up opportunity for us to help those customers navigate all of this information they have and all these things going on. But at the end of the day, this is a long game. This is relationship based, and there's a ton of opportunity in the market.
Yeah, and don't miss it.